So, you've heard all the hype about AI, right? How it's going to change everything. But if you're working inside a big traditional company, you know the real struggle isn't the tech. It's the people, it's the culture. Today, we're going to crack the human code of getting AI done for real. I mean, we all see the headlines, don't we? AI will revolutionize everything, disrupt or die. Then you walk into the office on Monday and bam, reality hits. You've got legacy systems that are older than you are, a culture that's allergic to risk, and enough internal politics to make your head spin. That gap, right there, between the promise and the reality, that's where all the hard work really is. And that gets us to the absolute heart of it. Winning with AI isn't about having the biggest, baddest model on the block. It's about changing the story people tell themselves inside the company. It's about shifting the internal narrative from, oh, that's a huge risk, to, okay, this is a smart, calculated opportunity. It's about turning these little experiments into a groundswell of momentum that no one can ignore. Okay, so how do we actually do that? Where do we even start? Well, we start with the absolute bedrock, the foundation of everything, and it's not the tech, it's trust. This is all about earning credibility and showing you've got a handle on the risk from day one. This puts us in a tough spot, doesn't it? It's the classic innovator's dilemma. We hear move fast and break things all the time, but in an established company, breaking things isn't a badge of honor. It could mean breaking regulations, breaking a process, or, worst of all, breaking the trust you've painstakingly built. And if you break that, you're back to square one, or maybe even further behind. The answer is to completely flip the script on how you think about this. First, stop fighting your company's cautious nature. That risk aversion, it's a feature, not a bug. It's what's kept the lights on for decades. Lean into it. Second, those guardrails, governance, ethics, compliance, they're not there to slow you down. They're your safety net. They give everyone else the confidence to let you try something new. And finally, and this is huge, change how you talk about it. It's not a deployment, it's a pilot. It's a learning experiment. Just that simple change in language lowers the stakes for everyone and gives people room to breathe. And this brings me to maybe the most counterintuitive point of all. For a little while, forget about the brilliant folks in the data science lab. Your most important, most powerful allies, the people who can truly make or break your AI project, are sitting in legal, compliance, and risk. You've got to stop seeing them as the department of no and start seeing them as your strategic partners in figuring out how to get to yes safely. So let's get super practical. When you walk into their office, don't lead with, this model is state of the art. Frankly, they don't care. That's your language. You've got to speak their language. Instead, say, let me show you where all our data came from. Here's our checklist for how we're mitigating bias, and here's our fallback plan if anything unexpected happens. See the difference? You're not selling them tech. You're demonstrating that you're a responsible partner. It all boils down to this really simple but powerful formula. Transparency about what you're doing and why, plus deep preparation for all their tough questions equals trust. You get this right, and you've just built the launchpad for everything else you want to do. Okay, so we've poured the foundation of trust. Now, how do we build the engine? How do we actually create some momentum? Well, you start small, and then you storytell big. Look, you do not need to boil the entire ocean. That's the fastest way to fail. Instead, you need to become a detective. Hunt for those small pockets of real nagging pain. Look for the boring, unsexy problems that everyone secretly hates, like endless contract reviews or mind-numbing data entry. Find an area where you can make a big impact without being under a giant microscope. And, most importantly, find a champion, some frustrated leader who is just desperate for a better way. Their political capital is gold. The moment you get that first small win, your job description changes. It doesn't matter what your title is. Your number one most critical skill from that point on is storytelling. And every good story has a clear arc, right? So here's your script. You start with the problem. You know that team in finance? They were spending 300 hours every single month just manually cranking out reports. Then you introduce the experiment. So we worked with them to pilot a simple AI tool that could just automate the first draft. And then you hit them with the most important part, the human result. 250 hours. Just let that number sink in. That's not a 12% efficiency gain or some other corporate jargon. That's 250 hours of human time every single month, given back to the team. time they can now spend on actual analysis or talking to clients or, thinking, the stuff they were actually hired to do. And that is the whole secret. The story is never, ever about the AI. Nobody cares about the algorithm. They care about the 250 hours. They care about the human potential you just unlocked. That's the story that gets people nodding. That's the story that starts to spread. But your story needs a great ending. And the ending is the bridge to the future. You take that specific win, that 250 hours, and you make it bigger. You say, look at what we did for this one team. Now imagine applying this same pattern to marketing, to operations, to HR. You turn a single small pilot into a company-wide possibility. When you start doing this over and over again, something really magical starts to happen. You're not just knocking out projects anymore. You are actively rewriting the story of what progress even looks like inside your company. You're shifting the entire culture from the old story, these huge top-down projects where everyone's terrified of failure, to a new story, a story built on a network of small, smart wins. You're moving from move fast and break things to move deliberately and learn constantly. You're creating a place where people actually feel safe to try something new. So, let's boil it all down. If you walk away with just 3 things, make it these. 1. Speak the language of safety. Make friends with your risk teams. They are your ticket to the game. 2. Start small, but storytell big. Solve a real person's real problem, and then tell a powerful human story about it. And 3, and this is the big one, remember that your primary job isn't tech, it's change management. You are a translator, a diplomat, and a storyteller, all rolled into one. Because in the end, the code that's actually going to transform your organization, it's not going to be written in Python. It's written in trust. It's built with credibility, and it's executed through a story. A story that is so compelling, so human, that everyone in the company wants to be a part of it. Now that's a story worth writing.